Following the soul of Shraddhavan, Savitri has come. She's passed through the eternal night and she's come into the world of the double twilight. And first death showed to her the world of the ideal, the twilight of the ideal. And now he's trying to persuade her that ideals are illusory, useless things, and that she should not place her faith in ideals, particularly not ideal love. Did he not dawn on me in other stars? How has he through the thickets of the world pursued me like a lion in the night, and come upon me suddenly in the ways, and seized me with his glorious golden leap? Unsatisfied, he yearned for me through time, sometimes with wrath and sometimes with sweet peace, desiring me since first the world began. He rose like a wild wave out of the floods and dragged me helpless into seas of bliss. Out of my curtained past his arms arrive. They have touched me like the soft persuading wind. They have plucked me like a glad and trembling flower, and clasped me happily burned in ruthless flame. I too have found him charmed in lovely forms, and run delighted to his distant voice, and pressed to him past many dreadful bars. If there is a yet happier, greater God, let him first wear the face of Shraddhavan, and let his soul be one with him I love. So let him seek me, that I may desire. For only one heart beats within my breast, and one God sits there throned. Advance, O death, beyond the phantom beauty of this world, for of its citizens I am not one. I cherish God the fire, not God the dream. So this is part of Savitri's answer to the words of death. And she's speaking about one who came love and lover and beloved, eternal. There is one lover, and he has built this world for his dance, his marvelous dance. And it is he who suffers and enjoys. Ever he comes to us across the years, bearing a new sweet face that is the old. When we fall in love, it's God that we fall in love with. So in what we read last week, she says, he named himself for me, grew Shraddhavan, for we were man and woman from the first, the twin souls, born from one undying fire.
Did he not dawn on me in other stars? How had he through the thicket of the world pursued me like a lion in the night, and come upon me suddenly in the way, and seized me with his glorious golden teeth.
So this one whom I love now as Shraddhavan, hasn't he met me? Hasn't his coming been for me like the rising of a sun? Hasn't he dawned on me in other stars, not in this solar system, on other earths, in other parts of the universe? And that one whom we love through all the thickets of the world. The thicket is the undergrowth in a forest. And of course, I think from Buddhist times, the idea of the world being like a forest. You have to push your way through. There are dangers waiting to leap out on you. So she speaks of the thickets, the undergrowth of the world, that it's so difficult to pass through. He's been pursuing me like a lion in the night, stalking me. And then he's come on me suddenly in the ways. He's jumped on me like a lion, seized me with his glorious golden leap. Sarojini. Yeah?
Unsatisfied, he yearned for me 2 times, sometimes with oath and sometimes with sweet face, desiring me since first the world began.
Yes. Unsatisfied. It's as if the Lord can't be satisfied. He's always looking for more enjoyment. And he's been yearning for me, longing for me, all through time, from the very beginning of the world. And that yearning, that longing, is sometimes with wrath, with anger, but sometimes with sweet peace. But whichever way he's been yearning, he's been desiring me since first the world began. I think one of the things that she wants to express is that all love is actually divine love. It gets perverted, it gets diminished, it gets twisted, but we shouldn't despise love even in any of its forms, because in its origin it's divine. And the real love, it's like between Krishna and Radha, the love of the divine for the soul for the divine. These get represented in our earthly relationships. Martin.
He rose like a wild wave out of the floods and dragged me helpless into seas of bliss. Out of my curtained past his arms arrived. They have touched me like a soft persuading wind. They have plucked me like a glad and trembling flower, and clasped me, happily burned in ruthless flame.
Yes. So here this is more connected with Shraddhavan, no? This is Satyavan has come to Savitri. Suddenly their meeting has happened, but it's something that has happened many times before in the past. So out of my curtained past, we can't see our past, it's behind the curtains of time, but his arms have come to me out of my past. He's come to me like a wild wave out of the floods, like a tsunami, seizing her and carrying her away into these seas of bliss. Such rapture. And those arms that have embraced her in so many other lives, now they have come in the form of this soft, gentle wind, this breeze. And it's as if he has plucked me, as if I was a flower in the forest and just waiting to be picked. And his embrace makes me feel like a moth in flame. The idea is that a moth, when it's attracted by the candle flame and the candle flame burns it, but she is not burned up. She can enjoy that intense delight of being burned in ruthless flame, pitiless flame. Gumsun?
To have humbling, charming in lovely forms, and roam lightly to hear the distant voice, and press to him past many delightful thoughts.
Yes. So similarly, I have seen him in all the things that I loved, in all the lovely forms. And when she was on her quest, searching, she was moving towards him. She was being attracted by his distant voice. She didn't know where she was going and what she was moving towards, but it was like some kind of magnetism. And so I have come to him against all kinds of obstacles. So death was telling her that if you want if you want liberation, then you have to forget all about human relationships. Yeah? He says, chastise thy heart with knowledge, unhood to see. And when you give your heart to a dream, hard necessity will smite thee awake. So better you detach yourself from all human relationships, renounce thy passionate nature, and dissolve into my nothingness, my calm. Forget everything. But here she says, next sentence. Would you read, please? Would you read?
If there is a yet happier, greater God, let him first wear the face of Satyavan, and let his soul be one with him I love. So let him seek me, that I may desire. For only one heart beats within my breast, and one God sits there throned. Advance, O death, beyond the phantom beauty of this world. For of its citizens I am not one. I cherish God the fire, not God the dream.
Yes. So if you want me to worship another God, if there is a happier, greater God, he has to show himself to me in the form of Satyavan. He's got to unite himself. He's got to inhabit Satyavan so that I can love him. Only in that way I will be able to desire him, because I've given my heart to Satyavan, and only one God is sitting throned in my heart. And I know that is the one God who has loved me since the beginning of time and whom I have loved. So she says to death, let us go further. Let us leave this beautiful world, this twilight world of the ideal. This is a phantom beauty. She agrees with him that everything here is ghostly and can't be seized. But it's beautiful. But let's go further, because I am not a citizen of this world. I am not attached to the ideal. I cherish God, the fire, not God, the dream. What I am loving and worshipping is something real, something intensely real, full of energy, not this dreamy, twilight, unseizable world. But he doesn't accept her answer. He's got further arguments. Will you read? Is it Uday at the back there? Yes, Uday.
That death once more reflected on her heart the majesty of his grand and dreadful voice, a bright
Hallucination.
Hallucinations are their thoughts, a passion held by spiritual cause of their own, communicating with Adam's thought, so sadness and goes to meet the sun, what brings with the red splendors of heart.
Thy high heart, yes. So, perhaps these words are not being spoken aloud. Perhaps a kind of telepathy is going on. She hears the voice of death in her heart, and it's a dreadful, terrifying, dismal voice. To inflict, it's to do something painful to somebody. She has to listen to the majesty of his calm and dreadful voice. And there's another long speech we shall read this week and next week and the week after. So first of all, he says that your thoughts are just hallucinations. Sri Aurobindo was always very scornful of this word hallucination. He says it's a label that you put on something that you don't understand. But some illusion. It's bright, there's some light in it, but there's no reality. He says, you are tied still, you are not free. You are a prisoner who's being pulled along, haled, it means pulling. You're being haled by a spiritual cord. There's some attachment, tie, connected with the spirit. But you are only a slave. You're an ardent slave, you're an enthusiastic slave of your own sensuous will. The will of your own, or for your own sensual enjoyments. You are sending towards the sun, the higher light, these words that are given wings, they're given the power to fly very high, powerful wings from the red splendor of thy heart, your intense feelings and emotions. Red is the color of rajas. No? So those words of yours are like great eagles flying towards the sun. But you're really only a slave. Gopal.
But knowledge dwells not in the passionate heart. The heart words all that unheard from wisdom's throne. Great is thy longing to build heaven on earth.
Thank you. So he says you're sending those words which come from your heart, but you should be thinking about knowledge, the true knowledge. The true knowledge doesn't live in the heart, which is full of passion. The heart's words don't, however, what eagle wings you give them, they don't reach the throne of wisdom, of true knowledge. And your longing to build heaven here on earth, to build paradise here, is in vain. It cannot be realized. And now he's going to speak about mind. Joel.
Artificer of ideal and idea, mind, child of matter in the womb of life, to higher levels persuades his parents' steps. Inapt, they follow him, the daring guide.
Mind creates something artificial. It creates ideas and ideals. These are not real. An artificer, it's a craftsman who makes beautiful objects. But we can see it's connected with the idea artificial, not real. He says mind has two parents. He's the child of matter in the womb of life. Matter is like the father, and life is the mother of mind. And this child of matter and mind persuades his parents, life and matter, to higher levels. That's his job. But they are not fit to follow mind. Matter can't respond fully, neither can life. So they follow ill. They can't really follow their daring child. On the other hand, Andras?
The mind, a glorious traveler in the sky, walks lamely on the earth with footsteps slow. Hardly he can mold the life's rebellious stuff. Hardly he hold the galloping hoofs of sense. His thoughts look straight into the very heavens. They draw their gold from a celestial mind. His acts work painfully a common forth.
So mind is trying to lift up matter and life, but they find it very difficult to follow him. Mind is a glorious traveler in the sky. It can wander here and there all over the universe. But when it comes down to matter, to earth, he walks lamely. He's hampered. He can't move freely. His footsteps become slow because he's not able to shape and control the life's rebellious stuff. Life doesn't want to be led by mind. Rather, life wants to dominate mind. With great difficulty, mind can only control the galloping hooves of sense. The senses are like the horses of our life force. And it's very difficult for mind to control them. his thoughts, the thoughts of human beings, look straight into the very heavens, and there they mine wonderful ideas, wonderful golden ideas from those heavenly minds. But when it comes to action, when he actually has to do something, achieve something, his acts work painfully with a common ore, not gold, just with dull lead or earthy matter. Here, for sure, mind works under the domination of matter, and that's what he's going to express. You'll read? Yeah.
All the high dreams were made by matter's mind, to let it dull walk in matter's trade. It is only house where it alone seems to walk. The solid image of reality, called out of being, to prove the works of time. Matter on their throne is strong and true.
Yes. So, all your ideals, Savitri, all your high dreams were made by a mind that's emerged from matter. And they are dreams to solace its dull work in matter's jail. Mind is imprisoned in jail and it's not happy there, and so it dreams of all these higher possibilities. So matter is its only house, and only matter seems to be true. Matter is a solid image of reality which has been carved out of pure existence as a base to prop or to hold up all the works of time. Matter is sitting on the firm earth, strong and sure. That's something you can rely on.
The mind is matter. But let's say that the mind is matter.
Matter is mind is as we know it, is a product of matter. It's another principle, but here on the earth it's dominated by matter, under the control of matter. And now he's going to tell us about matter, what that is. Bhavan.
It is the firstborn of created things. Stands the last when mind and life are slain. And if it ended, all would cease to be. All else is only its outcome or its phase. The soul is a brief flower by the gardener mind, created in thy matter's tearing plot. It perishes with the plant on which it grows, for from earth's sap it draws its heavenly hue. Thy thoughts are gleams that pass on matter's verge, thy life a lapsing wave on matter's sea.
Thank you. So if we look at the evolutionary history of the earth, of the universe as we know it, then what he says seems to be right, no? That matter is the firstborn of created things. But we may not agree that it's all that's left when mind and life are slain, but perhaps he means it in the sense that surely he means it in the sense that when the mind and the life leaves the body, only the matter is left. And everything depends on matter, he's saying here. So if it ended, if there was no matter, then there could be no life and no mind either. Everything else would cease. That's what he says, yes. Later on he will contradict himself, but that's what he's saying now. He's becoming a materialist, he's insisting on the primacy of matter. So even your soul is only a brief flower created by mind, by the gardener mind. Gardener mind has created, brought about the growth of this illusory flower in the terrain plot, the little earthly allotment of matter. So naturally the soul will perish with the plant on which it grows. When the body dies, the soul must die too, because it is drawing its lovely colours from the sap of earth, from the life of earth. So your thoughts are passing gleams on the edge of matter, and your life is like a wave that rises out of the sea and dissolves back into the sea, in this case the sea of matter. These are all words intended to discourage faith and belief. And they can be very discouraging. And we are carrying this discouragement in us. We are carrying this voice of death in us. Very often we agree better with what he says than with what Savitri says. Is it Hemlata sitting there? Yes, please.
The careful steward of truth's limited means, treasuring her founded facts from the squandering of it tethers mind to the 10 posts of sense, to a leaden grey routine blank like caprice, and ties all creatures with the force of law.
Yes. So what is it here? It is matter, no? Matter is a careful steward of truth's limited means, very carefully taking care of limited resources, the truths of matter. Matter wants to keep safe its founded facts, its firm physical facts, from the squandering power of life and of mind. And so it tethers mind to the tent posts of sense. Matter, to tether, that's what you do with an animal. You tie it to a post. And here he says these are the posts which hold up the tent of sense, of the sense impressions. Through the sense impressions, the data comes into the mind, no? And from this we form our impression of the world. We depend on these, what the senses tell us about the matter around us. Life is full of caprice and fancy wandering here and there and wanting to move freely. But the domination of matter ties it to a leaden, grey routine. All the things we have to do every day just to remain in the body. You know, the food and the shopping and the cooking and the washing up and the sleeping, the eating and the sleeping. It often doesn't leave much time for anything else. A heavy grey routine clamps, holds down the caprice of life. And this matter is tying all creatures with the cords of law. And here he seems to mean the laws of physics. That we are all subject to these laws of nature.
Could you say some more about truth, limited means? Is it limited because we are limited?
If we think about the means of matter, matter performs miracles with actually quite limited means. The chemical elements, the four forces, a few laws of thermodynamics. These are the laws of nature. These are the means by which truth can express itself in matter. Perhaps this is what is meant. So matter tries to tie everything down to these limited means. It doesn't accept the existence of anything else. So mind has to be dominated by the sense impressions. Life has to live within this domination of matter. All creatures are tied with the cords of law, tied down, limited in their movement because of the limited possibilities of matter. But then he says more about matter, tone.
A vessel of transmuting alchemists, a glue that sticks together mind and life. If matter fails, all crumbling cracks and falls. All upon matter stands as a rock.
As on a rock, yeah. So he says that matter is a container in which alchemy happens. The limited means of matter there's changing of substances. Alchemy actually was the beginning of chemistry, and it was based on the conviction that it must be possible to turn ordinary matter, forms of matter, into gold. And this was, of course, a symbolic search for gold in the sense of truth, immortality, and so on. The distinction was not so clear at that time when there were the alchemists between physical science and psychological science. So the same atoms make up many different forms of matter, and they can change from one to the other. It enables and allows that. And in the case of thinking bodies, matter, he says, is a glue that's sticking them, holding them together. And if matter fails, everything fails. All crumbling cracks and fails. And everything is based on matter, as on a rock. So he speaks like a real materialist, but in the next sentence he's going to say something contradictory to that.
What he said is true, no?
It's true, but it's limited. That's it, always how it is. It's a very and he's cynical about the way that he does it. First he puts it like this and discourages you this way, and then he will turn around and discourage you in another way. So, Patricia.
Yet this security and guarantor pressed for credentials and impostor proof, a cheat of substance where no substance is, an appearance, and a symbol and a mark. Its forms have no original right to birth. Its aspect of a fixed stability is the cover of a captive motion's swirl, an order of the steps of energy sands, whose footmarks leave forever the same signs. A concrete face of unsubstantial time, a trickle dotting the emptiness of space. A stable seeming movement without change, yet change arrives. The last change is death.
Mm-hmm. So matter is firm, matter is the basis of everything. But, as modern physicists have shown us, matter is made up of 99% empty space. Matter, as we conceive of it still as something solid, is just a cheat of substance, where in fact there's no substance. It's an appearance, it's a symbol, and it's nothing. So all these forms of matter, they have no original right to birth. This aspect which matter has of something that's fixed and stable is just a cover for a captive motion's whirl. A whirl of energy. Swirling. And this swirl is the order of the steps of the dance of energy. And these footmarks of this swirl of energy go on making the same signs over and over again. So this gives a kind of concrete, firm face to something which is unsubstantial. Time. A trickle, just a small stream dotting the emptiness of space. Earth seems to be something stable, a stable seeming movement without change. But all these forms that come together, which are born, which are formed, in the end they disintegrate. Change arrives, however long it takes. And the last change is death. So this is the gospel of death. This is his creed. This is what he believes. This is what he wants to convince Savitri of.
motion, swirl is captive of the energy.
No, it's a swirl of energy, but it's somehow captive. It is somehow limited. It's limited by this order of the steps of energy's dance. There's a certain latitude, but like the animal tied to a post, its range is limited. That gives this stable seeming movement without change. Yeah, probably the atoms are swirling around inside here now.
Did he not dawn on me in other stars? How has he through the thickets of the world pursued me like a lion in the night, and come upon me suddenly in the ways, and seized me with his glorious golden leap? Unsatisfied, he yearned for me through time, sometimes with wrath, and sometimes with sweet peace, desiring me since first the world began. He rose like a wild wave out of the floods, and dragged me helpless into seas of bliss. Out of my curtained past his arms arrive. They have touched me like the soft persuading wind. They have plucked me like a glad and trembling flower, and clasped me happily burned in ruthless flame. I too have found him charmed in lovely forms, and run delighted to his distant voice, and pressed to him past many dreadful bars. If there is a yet happier, greater God, let him first wear the face of Shraddhavan, and let his soul be one with him I love. So let him seek me, that I may desire. For only one heart beats within my breast, and one God sits there throned. Advance, O death, beyond the phantom beauty of this world, for of its citizens I am not one. I cherish God the fire, not God the dream. But death once more inflicted on her heart the majesty of his calm and dreadful voice. A bright hallucination are thy thoughts, a prisoner hailed by a spiritual chord, of thy own sensuous will the ardent slave, thou sendest eagle poised to meet the sun, words winged with the red splendour of thy heart. But knowledge dwells not in the passionate heart. The heart's words fall back unheard from wisdom's throne. Vain is thy longing to build heaven on earth. Artificer of ideal and idea, mind, child of matter in the womb of life, to higher levels persuades his parents' steps. Inapt, they follow ill the daring guide. But mind, a glorious traveller in the sky, walks lamely on the earth with footsteps slow. Hardly he can mould the life's rebellious stuff. Hardly can he hold the galloping hooves of sense. His thoughts look straight into the very heavens. They draw their gold from a celestial mine. His acts work painfully a common ore. All thy high dreams were made by matter's mind to solace its dull work in matter's jail, its only house where it alone seems true. A solid image of reality, carved out of being to prop the works of time, matter on the firm earth sits strong and sure. It is the firstborn of created things. It stands the last when mind and life are slain, and if it ended, all would cease to be. All else is only its outcome or its phase. Thy soul is a brief flower by the gardener mind, created in thy matter's terrain plot. It perishes with the plant on which it grows, for from earth's sap it draws its heavenly hue. Thy thoughts are gleams that pass on matter's verge, thy life a lapsing wave on matter's sea. A careful steward of truth's limited means, treasuring her founded facts from the squandering power, it tethers mind to the tent posts of sense. To a leaden grey routine clamps life's caprice and ties all creatures with the cords of law. A vessel of transmuting alchemies, a glue that sticks together mind and life. If matter fails, all crumbling cracks and falls. All upon matter stands as on a rock. Yet this security and guarantor, pressed for credentials, an impostor proves, a cheat of substance where no substance is, an appearance and a symbol and a naught. Its forms have no original right to birth. Its aspect of a fixed stability is the cover of a captive motion swirl, an order of the steps of energies dance, whose footmarks leave forever the same signs. A concrete face of unsubstantial time, a trickle dotting the emptiness of space. A stable seeming movement without change. Yet change arrives, and the last change is death.